Hi guys, this is Lynn. Welcome to episode 7 of the Wayward Skein podcast. I know it's only been a few days since I recorded last, but I kind of wanted to get into the habit of recording on the weekends. So that's why I'm recording on Sunday night. I was in no shape to record last night. Oof. I had a nasty stomach bug starting late Friday night into, well, pretty much all of yesterday. So I spent most of yesterday unconscious. And a good part of today unconscious too. I slept till I think I got up around 11:30 today, and this is the longest I've been awake since I got home from work on Friday. So it was not fun. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. And my mom had it last weekend, and it took me until Friday to succumb to it, and it was not pleasant. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend that as weekend plans. So I'm going to start with my tea because tea. These are actually soup mugs that my parents had when I was a kid. And they gave them to me a few years ago. I have 3 left of the original 4. So they're actually soup. And they've got recipes on the side. So these are some of my favorite tea mugs now. They're not big enough for soup as far as I'm concerned. But my tea today is Super Ginger by David's Tea. It is this lovely stuff. Oop. Learn where the camera is, lady. Super Ginger. So it's a green rooibos, which I guess is an immature rooibos, which is usually a red tea, but this is a green one. So it's got organic ginger, green rooibos. It's got white pepper, black pepper, and pink whole peppercorns, and stevia in it to give it a little bit of sweetness. There's not a lot of stevia. There's just enough to give it a touch, but oh god, it's so good. It's spicy and it's I know tea is warm, but I mean the ginger is very warming, and I don't know how to put it any better than that. I know tea is warm, but it's got this great, fantastic ginger smell, and oh, it's one of my favorites. I actually have a big packet that I got on clearance at David's of 50 of the individual tea bags of that I keep at work. And some of them are at my mom's house, and I keep some of that stuff all over the place because I love having it everywhere. But at home, I've got this little canister that I keep refilled. So that's my tea today. I have finished some things. The magic of off camera, because there's nowhere near enough space on my desk for all this crap. We're talking about knitting now. I finished my socks. I'm pretty sure the last time I recorded, I hadn't started the second one, or I had just started it. But anyway, I finished my socks. Ah, look at that pair. They're not completely identical, but that's fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't need my socks to be identical twins. I'm perfectly okay with them being fraternal. I'm a little more anal when it's a stripy yarn. I like them to start and finish on the same color, at least. So these are my beautiful socks. I can't wait to wear them. And I screwed up. I did not follow my sock pattern on both socks. Because you'll see, one looks a little bit longer than the other because one of them is a little bit longer than the other. What I did, and I don't know why I did this, on this sock, the first one, I did 15 rows of ribbing, 20 rows of leg, 15 rows back and forth, like I keep saying on the videos. For some reason, on this one, I did 15 rows of ribbing, 20 rows of leg, 18 rows back and forth on the heel flap. I have no idea why. No clue. So one of them is a little bit longer than the other. I think I'm going to see which one fits better and modify my sort of internal programming to make sure that I make them the same from now on. Because, yeah, I put them on the sock blockers and I was like, well, those aren't the same size at all. So, yes, dopey me made one sock 6 inches longer than the other. You can tell. It's fine. I don't care. But I feel a bit stupid because, well, I should know my own sock recipe by now, right? So these are based on the sock recipe, A Good Plain Sock pattern by Stephanie Pearl-McPhee. It's out of her Knitting Rules book. And to be honest, I've never actually seen the pattern. She taught me. I took her Grok the Sock class when she was near Ottawa a few years ago. I think it was 2013. Anyway, it was a few years ago, and I took the class, and I've never actually used a written sock pattern since to do basic vanilla socks over here. Camera's in the middle. And so I've never actually used a written pattern, and I will occasionally do patterned socks, particularly for test knits, but every now and then there's a pattern that strikes my fancy and I knit them, but these are my usual go-to vanilla socks. And this is what I knit for me, this is what I knit for Rob, except his is a different pattern, obviously. And it's what I knit for my dad. It's just basically my go-to sock. So I've got 2 of them, proof. And this is done out of Nova Sock Print, which is a apparently discontinued yarn. True to form for me. If I've knit it, the yarn is probably discontinued. Sorry. That's just how my stash works. So I bought this yarn at Moulinet in Montreal several years ago. I can't remember what year it was now. Anyway, we were in town for my friend Sarah's father's funeral, and we took a stop at a yarn store on the way to the funeral. And because we're nerds and, you know, we're in Montreal, we're going to a yarn store. So we went to the yarn store, and I bought several skeins of this stuff. I've already used one up. This was the second one. One of them I gave to Sarah because it was oranges, and her favorite color is orange, so I gave her that one, and I have one left. So this is colorway number 174. It's beautiful blues and browns, which tend to be sort of my wheelhouse. I like blue, I like brown. I like all the colors, really, but I particularly like combinations of blue and brown. I have several sock yarns that are, I have Night Owl Fibers that I'm dying to break into. It's a Sherlock Holmes yarn. I can't remember exactly what it's called, the colorway, but it's blues and browns striped. And I can't wait to break into that one. So it's not going to be my next pair of socks for me, but it might be the one after that because I've been dying to knit with it. So that's one of my finished objects, my lovely socks, of which there are 2. And they are Jen finished. The ends are all woven in, so I could wear them tomorrow if I wanted to, and I may. So those are finished. The other thing I finished, and this was kind of hilarious because I only cast this on Thursday. Got a little distracted. I used this pattern, which is and I'm sorry for the crinkled appearance, but this is what things look like when they've been in my purse. So it is the reusable produce bag by Tia Stanfield. Sorry, this isn't focusing very well. But so I wanted to make myself some produce bags for the grocery store because I saw these mesh ones on Facebook and Instagram, and I was like, ooh, and I clicked on them, and boy, were they expensive. I was like, I have to be able to do better than that. I have all this yarn. There's got to be a pattern for this on Ravelry. So I went and looked, and sure enough, there was. So this particular pattern does 3 different sizes. It's a free pattern on Rav. It does a small, a medium, and a large. I've knit the medium, and I put a bunch of stuff that was just hanging around on my desk to show you how much it holds a lot more than this. But this is what I did. So this is the medium. It'd probably hold about 3 pounds of fruit or vegetables. So the fact that there's a bigger one is useful. I don't know how many of the bigger ones I'm going to use. Basically, it's just done. You start with smaller needles at the bottom. You knit yourself a square. Then you pick up stitches all the way around. The pattern goes up. And then you have, I'll show you. Sorry. I will show you at the top. You use basically a piece of yarn like a drawstring through all the holes. And I just did a simple slip knot to close it. And there you go. It's all done. Closed. Safe. If you want your cashier to be able to see what you've got in the bag, you can either leave one out or leave them all out and put them in the bag after they've passed through the cat, whatever. These would be great for farmers markets. I plan on knitting a bunch of them. So the pattern calls for size 4mm needles, which is a US 6, and 6mm needles, which is US 10. I couldn't find my 6s. So I did the small parts, which is the bottom and the top, out of 3.75mm, which is US 5. So this, again, is the medium size. It's pretty solid. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here. I've got 2 bottles of sunscreen, a big bottle of Advil, a box of something, and another bottle of pills of some sort. But anyway, like, there's a lot of stuff in here. It's fairly heavy. Yeah, I do have 2 bottles of sunscreen. So, this is pretty solid. I'm impressed. I was a little worried because it's knit out of fingering weight. I was a little concerned that it might not hold, but this is solid. I cannot tell you what it's knit out of. I haven't got the first clue. I was given this cake. It was a full skeining yarn. It was 100 grams. So a friend of mine, Dara, who passed away a few years ago, sadly, gave me a ridiculous amount of yarn, about 1.5 years, 2 years before she died. Among the yarn she gave me was a few caked up skeins of sock yarn. I have no idea what it is. I don't think it's Regia. It might be something as nice as Opal, because it's pretty soft. For, I mean, it's a workhorse yarn, definitely, the way it feels, but it's a softer one. And so it's probably a very good quality yarn. She didn't skimp on yarn. I mean, she gave me a lot of Red Heart Super Saver, but she also gave me a lot of really, really nice stuff. So I would not be surprised if this was a skein of Opal or something like that. This is the pattern of it, if anybody recognizes it. It's got yellows, blues, creams, grays, and browns in it. So if anybody recognizes that, let me know and I'll tag it. The drawstring is literally just some leftover James C. Brett marble chunky that I had lying around. Like I had this little ball of it left over from a shawl I knit probably the 2nd year after I learned to knit. So I've been using this for the drawstring because it goes with the grays. And so this is my second finished object. I really enjoyed knitting this, obviously. I got it done in 3 days. 2 days because I didn't knit yesterday at all. I basically knit this while watching episodes of Sliders. Each pattern repeat was about 1 episode, so that's what I've been doing all weekend. That was my second finished object. I really enjoyed knitting this. So again, that's the reusable produce bag by Tia Stanfield. It's out of some random sock yarn. Sorry. And I used size 3.75mm, which is US 5, and 6mm, which is US 10. I just use the hat size, like 16-inch, I think this is. So I just use the hat size ones. Works in progress. I'm actually in the process of knitting a small size one. The beginning of the pattern is exactly the same for all the sizes. The only difference is the number of pattern repeats you do. So the bag won't be any wider than this. It'll just be taller or shorter, depending. This is going to be a small size one, so it's going to be shorter than this. Like I said, I'm really enjoying knitting it. I cast this on at dinner time, and it's now 9 o'clock, and I've been doing other stuff in between, so I've got it backwards. It goes that way. So it's a really simple pattern. The only caveat I would give you is that in the printed pattern, and it's a freebie, so I'm not giving anything away, it says cast on 22 stitches, knit 20 rows. It should say knit 20 ridges, because they mean 40 rows. 20 back and forth for garter stitch. So it should say 20 ridges instead of 20 rows. You're actually knitting 40 rows. And I would slip the first stitch in each row because that makes picking up the stitches afterwards a lot easier. So that's my only caveat for that, is that there's a little mistake in the pattern. Otherwise, I've had no problem knitting it, and it took me about 2 seconds to figure out what was wrong with it at the beginning. So, I mean, I looked at the square I had after knitting 20 rows and went, that's not a square. So I added 20 more, and it worked out. I'm going to try to slow myself down a little because I kind of feel like I'm talking a mile a minute here. Oh, here's an end I cut off. Just covered. The other thing I knit on, I did 2 little squares on a blanket. Only 2. Basically because I got distracted with this thing. And there will be enough of that left to make a square on my blanket as well, so I'm pretty happy about that. So I did this one, which is Cascade Heritage in Italian Plum. And these are all yarns that came from my friend Crystal in that big bag of partial skeins of yarn that she gave me a few years ago. So this is Cascade Heritage Italian Plum. And this one here, oh God, I was so looking forward to knitting with this. It's Jinx Yarn BFL sock. I have never gotten to knit with Jinx Yarn before. And I was so in love with this stuff. It's a really solid sock yarn. I could see myself enjoying knitting with this. It's not a luxurious sock yarn by any means. BFL tends to be a lot more of a workhorse yarn than merino. So it's not as soft, but oh, I really enjoyed knitting with it. I was a little bit in love with this stuff. It's a little bit more twisted than I'm accustomed to, but I really enjoyed it. So this is the Velveteen colorway. It's Jinx Yarn BFL sock in Velveteen. And again, it's from my friend Crystal. So there we go. Got a few more squares on my blanket. I think I've got 10 to go on this row. So maybe I'll get those done in August. We'll see. I'm trying to get a bit more work done on it because it's been neglected for far too long. So there's my jelly roll blanket. And that goes over there. And, pardon me a moment. I think it sat in a corner too long. I have to air it out. Maybe with a dryer sheet or something. I've already told you about the bag. So the only other thing that I'm working on this week, and I literally just cast it on, is Rob's sock. I just have the cast on done, and I think I'm on row 2 of his sock. So for his socks, I tend to do a 3x2 rib along the entire length of the leg and the top of the foot. This is what he prefers. It's what I did for his very first pair of socks. And when I was finished with it, he said, great, they all have to be exactly like this. And then I proceeded to make him 2 pairs that were completely different from that. And then he was like, you know, none of them have ever fit as well as the first pair. And I said, but they're all the same. And then I looked at them carefully and no, they were not all the same. So I had been doing a 2x2 rib on his socks. And I looked at the first pair again and went, oh, I do a 3x3 rib on your socks. You know, duh. So again, it was a case of suddenly not following the pattern anymore. I don't know. It's a thing. So these are his socks. Just sad, pathetic little 2 rows of sock that I've got so far. I'm trying a new yarn. I've never used this before, but I'm starting to see why Selma loves this stuff so much. I don't know if she's knit with this particular one, but she's a big Bergère de France fan. I know she's knit with the Gumi. This is the Luberon base, and the colorway is Eau Vive, which is, I don't know if you can literally translate it. It would translate to live water or running water, I guess. I don't know if that translates literally, but that's what I'm knitting it out of, and it's fantastic yarn. It's very squishy. I wouldn't say loosely twisted, like loosely plied, but it's not as tight as some of the sock yarns I've seen. I don't know if you can, it helps if I'm on camera. I don't know if you can tell that, but it's not as tightly plied as I'm accustomed to for most sock yarns. It's beautiful, beautiful stuff. It's 65, it says worsted wool, but clearly it's not worsted, it's fingering. But 65% wool, 35 polyamide, nylon, whatever. I never know how to pronounce that. I feel so stupid every time I come across that word because I don't know how to say it. So yeah, as I said, it's Eau Vive. I don't know if you, come on, Eau Vive. There we go. That's the colorway, and it is beautiful stuff to knit with, and I'm very much looking forward to doing his socks. I still have not started the mittens. They're still in the naughty corner, just basically because I got distracted by produce bags. What can I say? I'm a sucker. Oh, and I wanted to do this before I got into knitting, so sorry. But I wanted to give some birthday shout-outs. Hello, people! My only source for your birthdays is Ravelry, so if you haven't joined the Ravelry group, hop on over there, join the group. The people who have joined the group thus far, who have had birthdays in July, are Handbag Crazy, who is Sandy. Hi, Sandy! Happy birthday! Her birthday's actually tomorrow, I think. Yes, tomorrow. Eat My Yarns, who is my bestie, Brandy. Hey, Brandy! Did you turn 30 this year? I think you turned 30 this year. Yeah. Happy birthday. Summery Day, who is April. Hey, April, happy birthday. And Tasha's Craft Place, who is Natasha. Happy birthday, Natasha. I just wanted to say happy birthday to all the July babies. I think I'm going to try to do this at the end of the month so that I can cover everybody who has had a birthday. Since this will be the last episode in July, obviously, since July only lasts until Tuesday. And I will give a private birthday shout out to my kid Erin, who is turning 17 on Wednesday. Haha. She will be so embarrassed when she sees this, if she sees it. I don't know if she watches. I don't care. So, there has not been any progress on the Winter Long by Bristol Ivy. Again, distracted. I wanted to finish my sock. I got really into the sock, and then I started knitting these at home. So, the Bristol Ivy kind of got put aside for a little while. Plus, it's my back cushion right now. I'm not kidding. It's actually the bag that it's in and the amount of yarn in it is the perfect size. After I got out of bed this morning, my back was killing me. My bed is really uncomfortable. I desperately need a new mattress. And so I have literally had that in my back since I got because it's actually helping. It's just the right size. That's a bag by Woolridge Designs, by the way. It's one of my favorite bags. So that's about it for knitting. I will confess that I have been, sorry, I gotta reach now, making minis and prep for Rhinebeck. That's what's left over from my sock. I had almost a full half skein left. I love shorty socks. So, yeah, my Facebook group and we tend to sort of exchange minis when we see each other. So this is my prep for Rhinebeck. There will be more added to that since I'm actually knitting again. I don't think there's going to be much out of these because I usually tend to use most of a full skein for Rob's socks. So there's not usually much of his socks left. And this is a lot darker than it looks on the screen. It's nowhere near as bright as this. There you go. See, it's much darker than it looks away from the shirt. So that's about it for knitting. I do have a couple of other things I want to mention this week. A very good friend of mine, Sarah, who is the Canadian Knitter podcast, and she's True Canuck Girl on Ravelry. She has a separate YouTube channel. It's a booktube channel. Sarah was recently contacted by Harlequin Romance to do review videos for them. And she has just posted her first one. I'm super, super proud of her. This is so awesome. She's really, really good at what she does. Obviously, our Harlequin wouldn't have contacted her out of the blue. Her content is fantastic. I really enjoy watching her videos. If you're into book reviews, if you're into romance novels, if you're, any of that stuff, you should go check her out. She's called Not Just Romance Novels on YouTube. So look up Not Just Romance Novels. So she has been doing reviews of some of their upcoming titles as well as, because she gets advance copies, as well as some interviews with the authors. That will be coming. She hasn't done any of the interviews yet, but that's one of the things that they've asked her to do for them. So that's pretty awesome. And it means she's going to get to meet some of her favorite authors and some of my favorite authors. And it's super exciting. So if you get the chance, go to YouTube, check out Not Just Romance Novels. I'm super, super psyched for her, so I'm trying to send traffic her way. The only other thing that I have to talk about, because obviously my weekend was basically destroyed. I had no weekend. I wanted to talk about a couple of podcasts that I've been watching. I'm still catching up on I'm still catching up on Jen, who is the Uncreative Crafter podcast. She's Stormcoast on Ravelry and pretty much everywhere else. So I've been catching up with her. I basically have a year of podcasts to catch up on because I stopped watching them just before I got my job, and I got my job in June of last year. So right up until I got my job, I'd been watching podcasts all day long. That's what I did, basically, to pass the time. Applied for jobs and watched podcasts. So after I started working, it was hard for me to get back in the swing of having a full schedule. So I wasn't watching anything. Like not Netflix, not YouTube, nothing. I just didn't have time or the energy. So I stopped watching podcasts altogether, which means I have a year or more of podcasts to catch up on. So I've been catching up on Jen, the Uncreative Crafter, and Selma, who is the Little Big Knits podcast. Selma is one of my local friends. I haven't seen her in a little while because she's been a busy lady. She's also had some stuff going on in her private life that I won't talk about here. But I miss her face, and I hope she's doing okay. And I talked to her, but I'm hoping I get to see her soon because I miss her face. So check out Little Big Knits podcast if you haven't already. She's extremely knowledgeable on garment construction. She's like one of the smartest knitters I know. She can make anything fit her, which I am really envious of because I've only tried to knit one sweater thus far and it did not work out at all. I knew nothing about garment construction when I did it, and I wasn't confident in my abilities when I did. I mean, this was one of the first things I tried to knit, and it was awful. She knits stuff and wears it. Like, she can wear it to work. She's a professional. She's a manager in the federal government. So if she can wear it to work, it looks good. And I think her husband takes the pictures of her, but I swear every time she posts a photo of herself modeling a finished object, it could be a book cover. Part of it is the decor in her house. Part of it is her Scandinavian amazing looks. But, I mean, the woman just knows how to put a shot together. And her husband obviously knows how to put a shot together. But, I mean, her knitting is just fabulous. She makes herself stuff that suits her very well. Her color sense is incredible. Just go check out her podcast. You will be as awed as I am. Another podcast that I dearly, dearly love. I've been watching her for a couple of years now. She's actually local to me, and ironically, I've never met her here. I met her at Rhinebeck last year, but I've never met her here in Ottawa. We're both from here. One of these days, we have to go out for coffee or something. Her name is Nicole, and she does the Gentle Knitter podcast. It is just a very relaxing podcast. I love watching her. She just kind of, you watch an episode with a cup of tea and you're knitting and you just kind of go, yeah, that felt really good. I just adore her podcast. She's very easygoing, very mellow. Really, the Gentle Knitter is the best name for her. I think she used to be called Coco Knits, I think. On Ravelry, and I think now she's moved to Gentle Knitter. So she's another one that's just fantastic to watch, and I'm loving it. TV-wise, I'm still watching Sliders. I haven't watched a ton of it this week. I couldn't even tell. Oh, probably because, well, no, that was last week. I did go out to the movies this week because I talked to you guys on Tuesday, so it's now Sunday. Maybe that's why I haven't had any time this week, because it's only been 5 days. So I'm a little concerned about the amount I got done in 5 days. Clearly my housekeeping has been suffering as a result. So that's about all I have to say. I'm going to be continuing to work on this stuff and hopefully have some new stuff to talk about to you about. Words in right order, helpful, about next week. So I will see you all next weekend. Hope you have a great week. Keep your sticks pointy. Bye.